Senator Reid is former leader of this committee, very familiar with the work of the Environment and Public Works Committee, and it's a pleasure to have you before our committee. Senator Reid.
I can remember the first time I saw the lake. I, of course, was a grown man at the time, and it was a marvel to me, having been raised in the southern part of the state where the water is very, very limited. So I'm happy that to be able to testify today. Lake Tahoe is both a natural wonder and a critical part of the states of California and Nevada's economy. A report recently published shows that in 2008, more than 23,000 people living in the Lake Tahoe region are employed by the tourism industry there. Those same people earn more than $1.8 billion in income from tourism and tourism-supported jobs. And that's why I say to you, Madam Chair, and the members of the committee, how important the travel promotion bill is. Think of what this could bring to our country in the way of tourists. There's only one other lake like Lake Tahoe in the world. It's Lake Baikal. It's Alpine Glacial Lake. It's in Russia. I've had the good fortune of seeing that beautiful body of water. And people travel to all over the world to see Lake Baikal. We're going to spend some money now as a country advertising America. And this will be one of the featured spots of any advertisement. Lake Tahoe, as Mark Twain said, the fairest place in all the earth. Since 1997, when we held the first Lake Tahoe Summit, a lot of strides have been made in restoring the health of the Lake Tahoe Basin. And I'm really happy with what we've been able to accomplish. Major forest restoration is underway. Fuel breaks have been developed around many neighborhoods. Marshes and wetlands have been restored. And the mighty Lahontan cutthroat trout will soon return to the lake. Over the past 13 years, we've made Lake Tahoe a model for how to bring together local, state, and federal resources in the interest of protecting and restoring a great natural resource. In fact, a national treasure. Today, we ask for your partnership in continuing this work in and around Lake Tahoe. When the first Lake Tahoe Restoration Act passed in 2000, we had two primary goals in mind. First, we wanted to put a stop and reverse the severe decline in the lake's water clarity. Now, see, Diane, that you and I, when we talk about the clarity of the lake, I would have said 70 foot. I would have rounded off the 69.6.
I'll buy it.
So we've made some headway there. Second, we wanted to get high priority hazardous fuels and watershed restorations efforts underway. One of the things we've done, because that place was logged to death during the Comstock and after, there were all kinds of roads for timber, and those were terribly bad for erosion. That stuff all went right into the lake, and we've closed many of those. We've wiped those old roads out, and that's been a great step forward. We've made progress in stopping the decline of the water's clarity and to get high priority hazardous fuels and watershed restoration efforts underway. And this is good. The Lake Tahoe Restoration Act that has been introduced, we're talking about today, make sure that this critical work will continue. First, this legislation does a lot more than any that we've done to carry existing programs forward. This legislation makes science a priority, calls for better management of public lands in the Lake Tahoe Basin, and takes aggressive action against the threats that were simply unthinkable 10 years ago. Most notably, quagga and zebra mussels pose a grave danger to Lake Tahoe's ecosystem. If these invasive critters make their way into Lake Tahoe's water network, much of the work that we've done and will do is for naught. As the residents of the Great Lakes region know all too well, when these mussels invade, beaches get coated with a sharp crust of shells, native fish and plant populations get outcompeted for basic nutrients, and almost anything that comes into contact with the water gets covered with these shells. Let me give one just small anecdote with you that demonstrates the size of the threat to Lake Tahoe and the economies of Nevada and California. Quagga mussels were first discovered in Lake Mead in January of 2007, 3 years ago. Now, 3 years later, science estimate that there are now 3 trillion quagga mussels in Lake Mead. In order to keep Lake Tahoe from suffering a similar fate, This legislation includes $20 million to support an unprecedented watercraft inspection program. The new inspection regime will take some getting used to, but it's absolutely essential if we want Lake Tahoe and Lake Tahoe's economy to remain vibrant and healthy. I want to take a moment to applaud the federal employees at Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, the counties, the towns, the businesses, and the nonprofit organizations that come together to protect this majestic corner of the West. We have a partnership at Lake Tahoe that works. We've demonstrated over the past decade that we know how to pair federal funding with state and private resources to achieve results. What we're asking now is for a renewed commitment to Lake Tahoe and for the resources to restore and protect this national treasure for decades to come. Thank you very much.